What is something you can flex about? My internal clock is superior. I know what time it is at all times, within 5 minutes. It also functions as a totally reliable alarm clock. I am fairly fast at learning stuff. Most of it is because of privilege of coming from a moderately rich family and being able to learn without worrying too much about the future. But I have all sorts of information about a huge variety of topics that I keep exploring and learning, formally or otherwise. Since a year, I never followed timings like humans. I am usually awake whole night but also awake in day, just sleeping small times whenever I get chance throughout day and night, to compensate for sleeping continuously. So some thinks I am always sleeping and some thinks I am always awake lol. But I am awake whenever I am needed and I am sleeping whenever I am not needed. I think that can be counted as a flex. I hope being an alien won't disqualify my flex. I can play piano. I'm honestly glad I went through all those years of practicing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I hated it and never want to do it again. But I now get to play all the music I ever want. And no, I don't play classical music. I don't really like to play stuff like that. It bores me and makes me feel like I'm supposed to add feeling to it. I just learn a bunch of songs from the Undertale OST. I recently learned Metal Crusher by ear and am really proud of myself. I can make a damn good cheesecake brownie, and a pretty good matcha cake. And I have a bartending set that I know how to use. Okay, there's the few times the Boston glass got stuck, haha. This one comes from the bartending course I almost finished one summer back in uni, and, I was given a $5,000 scholarship for being in the top 4% in academics in my cohort of high school graduates. I can make a damn good cheesecake brownie, and a pretty good matcha cake. And I have a bartending set that I know how to use. Okay, there's the few times the Boston glass got stuck, haha. This one comes from the bartending course I almost finished one summer back in uni, and, I was given a $5,000 scholarship for being in the top 4% in academics in my cohort of high school graduates. I can hit a 10 cm diameter target with an arrow from 25 meters. Without using any assistance like visors or stabilizers. I am a brown belt judoka. I can play the piano pretty well. I can ice skate 400 meters in about 43 seconds. I am gifted. According to one of my teachers, that's a flex. I spoke English fluently within 2 years of learning it, and I have a Cambridge C1 certificate, which is the equivalent to a native speaker. I've surfed and waves up to 3.5 meters. I'm a free runner. I'm 16. I have scoliosis and I've had multiple surgeries and my back is now basically a block of metal, and when I go through the airport I beep like crazy and I watch the airplane guys flip out until I whip out my medical card like a boss. I once shared a stage with Gregory Hines. I was part of a group of young ballet dancers who got to perform at a fundraising event in NYC. He was such a nice man. We grabbed napkins for him to sign his autograph, and then someone had the bright idea to have him sign their ballet slipper. He ended up signing our slippers too. Every now and again I remember it and marvel that I got to be a part of that. This will only mean anything to British people of a certain age, but I once helped Terry Nutkins find a place to buy coffee. Not really impressive, just a random celebrity encounter. Gosh, I can paint glasses quite well. I finally got out of warehouse jobs. May not seem like a big deal, but after 7 years of only being able to get warehouse jobs, I finally got the sweet office job. I get to sit at a desk in air conditioning. I'm not breaking my back or sweating my balls off, and I'm not surrounded by people who hate their lives. It's wonderful. I am pretty good at instinctively knowing what decisions will make me happy. Like I have known since age 6 the type of person I'm most compatible with, relationship-wise, can tell pretty early if someone is toxic, can sense what decisions will lead to regret long-term, etc. Doesn't mean I am right 100% of the time, but helps a whole lot, and I have very few regrets. By doing nothing more than existing and having a bad luck streak, I forced a military branch to upgrade an outdated software system that was, figuratively speaking, held together with bubble gum and duct tape. Several hundred people use this system daily, and have complained about its functionality, or lack of, for a decade, but the government refused to do anything because it wasn't considered a priority system. I come in with a new version of what's called a common access card, and for some reason my card is incompatible with the ancient system. IT says you need the old version of the card, but the government says for security purposes you must have the new version. So now the system engineers have to find a way to make the system work with my card, or else I can't do my job. In trying to fix the problem, an engineer did something wrong, and the entire system crashed. It took 2 days for them to bring it back online, and even then it was unstable, so they told everyone to back up their work and told the government the system is toast. If you don't give us the funding to replace it, a few hundred people are going to get paid doing nothing. The government gave them the money, and 2 weeks later there was a brand new system in place. My flat screen TV stopped working. Based on symptoms, I found a YouTube video that showed how to fix it. I had to buy a soldering iron, take the entire TV apart, replace a capacitor and put the whole thing back together. I did it and the TV still works years later. My flex is gaming related. BC, I am bad as life. I hope that's not a problem. In Hollow Knight, I have the 112% max percent including DLC save file on Soul of Steel mode, permadeath, with a mostly full Hunter's Journal, only missing the max level Void Idol and the Weathered Mask. I have also completed the Grim Troop DLC by defeating Nightmare King Grim instead of banishing the Grim Troop. Both options give you the percent, but the first one is more satisfying and I wanted to keep Grim Child. I was in a nationally televised parade once. I've never seen it. They wouldn't let us stay up to watch the local, not live, broadcast of the parade after we were in it, and then I never figured out when it was actually airing nationally later on. And everyone who's promised to lend me the videotape of the parade has never done it, and now I don't have a VCR to watch the tape anyway. For a reverse flex, my mom and some of the other chaperones got to sit and watch the parade so they saw all the celebrities. But since I was marching, all I saw were the other members of the marching band the whole time. It was the Hollywood Christmas parade. This was many moons ago. Oh, and here's a different, specific flex. I got to ride in the cockpit of a monorail at Disney World. They don't let people do that at all anymore, and even when it was still a thing, it was just a totally random event where the pilot would just be like, hey, ask those people if they want to ride in front. I'm tired. If pilot and cockpit are even the right terms for a monorail, but it's super cool, and I wasn't even a little kid when it happened. Also, for some positive self-talk, I guess I can flex about watercolor painting. A lot of people find it super hard, but it's hella easy for me, so I guess I'll flex about that. I have a 100% win rate in Twilight Imperium 4 with a 6-0 record, probably a pretty low game count for enthusiasta. Game sizes have varied from 3-5 all with very experienced board game players. I'm especially proud of it as the last 3 games where the table actively tried to target just me. The very last game I played was before I temporarily moved away from my home state, and we played a 5-player game. Took us longer to actually set up the game than it did for me to win. I felt especially bad on this one because it just kind of ended with the next closest person being at 5 points in a 10-point game. I have since decided to retire from T4. 92% average achievement completion rate on Steam. I have like 300 plus games even though I don't play many of them. Also, if you're one of those people who believe staying virgin before marriage is a good thing, 22 years unmarried virgin here. I started my French history podcast as a lark one summer. In 2 weeks it turns 5 years old. It has turned a modest profit for the past 3 years. I'm coming up on 1 million downloads. My monthly download stats put me in the 1% of top podcasts in the world. It started as a hobby to get my mind off of a shitty breakup, but now it's one of the most interesting and rewarding things I do. I hear from listeners from all around the world, and it has given me a focus for intellectual pursuits in a way that I was missing in the years after I graduated college. 92% average achievement completion rate on Steam. I have like 300 plus games even though I don't play many of them. Also, if you're one of those people who believe staying virgin before marriage is a good thing, 22 years unmarried virgin here. I started my French history podcast as a lark one summer. In 2 weeks it turns 5 years old. It has turned a modest profit for the past 3 years. I'm coming up on 1 million downloads. My monthly download stats put me in the 1% of top podcasts in the world. It started as a hobby to get my mind off of a shitty breakup, but now it's one of the most interesting and rewarding things I do. I hear from listeners from all around the world, and it has given me a focus for intellectual pursuits in a way that I was missing in the years after I graduated college. I only failed one exam. I'm coming from a very basic school, more practice-based, so 2 days of school and 3 days of working in the field. Never had exams or homework and never had to study. Most people just go work after they are done there, but I felt like I wanted more. Started a bachelor's degree for social work and got my first exams. Only have one failed exam, and for the first time in years I feel like I'm actually worth something. Smile. My school was like, "Oh, so you broke your neck? Let me apply and bandage on that." So I gathered a group of friends and we got medikits from our houses and went treating people who were hurt. It wasn't much, but we could help with small things like cuts, falls, pain. Nothing important happened, but I felt awesome. Was out on a date with a hot girl. After dinner her car wouldn't start. Popped the hood. I said I saw an engine. I'm pretty sure. Not a clue whatever else I was looking at. She looked at me and I punched the battery with the side of my hand and told her to try again. Car fucking started. I felt like Fonzie. Got so laid. I taught myself the guitar while nearly deaf. I had to use my teeth to hear the instrument through bone conduction. Later on, used my experiences to do things like organize a worldwide group of instructors to provide distance ukulele lessons to a remote First Nations reserve, develop a music program for a special needs summer camp, accidentally write a popular banjo book, and came up a way to format tab, a sort of shorthand fretted instrument players use to share licks and solos, to work with the braille display. I've trained hard for months and now I have, excuse me for being really pretentious, frickin' awesome reflexes, like I can pinch flies mid-air or dodge things PPL throw at me. Really useful at the school restaurant when PPL throw pieces of bread randomly. P.S. Excuse me if my English isn't really correct, I'm French. I see how the world works and I can act on it and I always come out on top, and when I give some people advice, it might be considered hate speech, because it's not always nice what I say, but it will get you a reality check of the situation you've found yourself in and what's causing it. I have the worst luck when it comes to buying things. E.g. I bought a VR, Oculus Quest, then the next day the better, more cheaper, more powerful one is announced, Oculus Quest 2, but when I watch a movie I can literally predict everything that happens. E.g. Who dies, who lives, who kills what, who does what, before I even get into 20 minutes of the movie, as long as I can see every character and know what the movie is about. I am apparently so unappealing to hire that despite having an engineering degree, a few years experience, some as a lead role, no bad background checks, and applying to well over 200 jobs, I'm still without a job even a year after graduating. I've made a viral video on YouTube back in 2012 about Tom Hiddleston's laugh. A few months later, a Korean girl band member showed him my video while he was in Korea promoting Thor 2. Watch here at 6:35. I never flex about this, cause it happened so long time ago, as if in a different lifetime in my eyes, and isn't important, but I guess. Who else can say the star of their fan video saw and liked said fan video? Anyways, still got the original saved. It got reported like a year after that and was taken down my YouTube. I have known a 17-digit phone number, that one called, from a landline only. It will tell you what number you are calling from. I've stored this semi-useless information for a good 20 or so years, but I can't remember if I have taken my meds this morning or not. Also, I'm not sure if the number still works or not since technology is so advanced now. I'll have to ask my dad. Made it to the top 50 in the British Olympiad for physics despite being one of the only comprehensive school students to enter. Once down a pint of ale in under 3 seconds. Competed for my county in both table tennis and hockey at junior level. Downed a yard of ale in under 2 minutes, then immediately threw it up. It still counts. Alright. Came back from a deep depression to make a full recovery. Was the highest ranked table tennis player my club ever produced. A record still held when the club folded. Graduated with honors in mechanical engineering from one of the top 1% of universities in the world. I'm finally becoming true to myself and my wants despite years of being religiously conservative that I had to be homophobic just to deny my own persona and sexuality. I'm so fucking happy now in comparison to my pastor and so lucky that I finally decide things on my own without letting my religious family's opinions get to me or bring me down. I'm also flexing my beautiful girlfriend, best friend and soulmate whom I owe much of my growth and development through her unconditional love and support. I have never gotten rid of an animal, my family included. No one in at least 4 generations have not lived out our animals' lives. Shame on those who give them up. Additionally, all were in our rescue. Not one has come from anywhere but a rescue shelter except one dog that is a service dog for my aunt. I went around the world in 13 days, all for a challenge to visit 11 different art galleries in 8 cities. People had a month or 2 to complete the challenge, but I wanted to do it as fast as I could. Cities were New York, Los Angeles, Hong Kong, Athens, Rome, Geneva, Paris, London. My prize ended up being an artwork worth over $20,000. So that was pretty cool considering I kept travel expenses around $4,000. I had a dead-end job, so I taught myself electronic engineering for $0 by repeatedly teaching classes on the things I had learned thus far and using that to buy more tools and parts. I iterated for a few years until I could speak at conferences. Then I sold everything. Moved to Asia, spent every dime I had setting up a company, and taught myself how to run a business by getting whatever clients I could. I failed often, and a lot, and the misery of those days will haunt me forever. But again, after a few years of chewing glass, I got the hang of it. I'm not rich, but I'm ahead of where I would have been if I had kept my job, so I guess you could say I'm really just okay at finding long, painful ways to deal with my own ignorance. Was aware of the virus coming out China early and had all the supplies, fun stuff and cash set aside to ride out the lockdowns and then some. Didn't tell anyone. The flex came when GF and family realized I was not actually insane. got a nasty spine injury 5 years ago and doctors were skeptic about me doing any type of tough sport. 3 weeks ago I did triple digits back squat painless and it keeps improving. Even pre-injury I wasn't that strong.